Hello, everybody, and welcome to PGS Treks. I am Mmmm, and here is my co-host, Julian Mushkin. Julian, how are you tonight?
I am doing great. How about yourself, RM?
I'm doing wonderfully. It's a Friday. It is nice and comfortable in New York, although we did go through some very odd. Um, I guess it's a smoke event or air quality event. There are these wildfires that are happening in Ontario, Canada, I think, or somewhere in Canada, and the smoke made its way down to the northeastern part of the United States where you couldn't even go outside. All you could smell was smoke. I thought people were barbecuing. I thought it was my neighbor's barbecue. So we survived that. After that, back to a normal kind of day, I guess, more or less. Yeah, it is great to be back talking about Star Trek, Julian. And the last time that we met, I had mentioned to you that I would be playing the new Star Trek game called Star Trek Resurgence. I was very excited to play this game. I managed to play the game. I managed to stream it even here on the Burnettwork. And I'm just going to show you a little bit of what some of that gameplay looked like. And let me just make this bigger so you can
Yeah,
see.
I saw some of that. That was pretty cool as I was seeing you first get up to the station and navigate through the things. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was fun, Julian. I have to say, for me, the best thing about this game was just the how immersive it was, and the colors, how everything looks. How you start off, it's this dramatic labs. Of course, this is a video of me watching it, and you can see some of the graphics here. I was so excited. Um, this video is actually on the Burnettwork as well. But I was so excited when I started to play it because I thought this is so much fun. It was very immersive, Julian, and it was so much fun to play this game. You're this character who is a you're the number one officer, and of course there's somebody on the ship that resents the fact that you have been brought in as number one. And of course Tom Jr. Jackson was there for every single one of them. Thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson, moderator, collaborator, and friend, who was there for every single one of these streams. But I just love what they did. I think the effects were great. It was not a heavily mentally draining game. It's just for you to enjoy the appearance of Star Trek. I think they did a good job for what it is. It's Telltale. So with Telltale, the game is more of a where you have to make decisions. And as you're making these decisions, they give you three choices and you make a choice. But to be honest with you, it's about approximately a 9 to 10 hour game. For me, it took me 11 streams, which is not too off from what it should take to play it. But it looked so good, Julian. I have to give you
Yeah,
credit for making it look like what it's supposed to look like. There was nothing that seemed off. I couldn't really find anything wrong with it. It was so immersive. It was so much fun. And they introduced it just the same way as you can see with the title, change of station. Of course, you are now entering a new, you're going to be part of this new ship. I think it's called the Resolute, if I remember correctly. And it really does look very good. It looks exactly like how it should. So there's no confusion. Nothing's sort of redesigned or out of place. Everything looks right. It did take me a little while to figure out what I was doing.
hmm
Um, and of course, you can't hear my commentary, but I did just want to show this a little bit. I think they did a great job. They had one or two alien species, both of which looked incredible, Julian. These two species, I think there was a Takan, and I can't remember the names, but it really did look incredible. I was very impressed with what they did with it. I think that's how you make an alien species look. You can't. I'm trying to maneuver in the game here. I just remember looking outside and looking at the view. A lot of it circles around these atmospheric conditions in space. I know it's a vacuum, but there are gases that are creating this
yeah,
sort of turbulent atmosphere, if you will. And your relationships with the other crew members. There was a lot of emphasis on getting along. The captain felt like nobody had his back. There was like a lot of really great, situations that you would expect where it would be difficult as an officer to blend in. She's not from there. They've all sort of been on the ship for a long time, and she's sort of the outsider. It was a lot of fun. The fight situations, it wasn't as complicated as it could have been. there's the main character talking to the captain of the ship, and these scenes felt very real. It felt like someone had said it felt like one of the movies, the Next Generation movies or something. I think that there was a lot of similarities between that and what you saw. And of course, the episode choices, it was nice because they kind of gave you the segments where you could figure out what it was, what your goal was. And that was also very nice. The other thing I was going to say is that this is a great game for if you are not the best, gamer. If you are not necessarily that great at gaming, anyone can play this game. This is not one of those games where you absolutely have to be an expert at strategy. You have to be in lightning speed fast, and nothing like that. This was for pure enjoyment. Whoever designed this wanted it to be an immersive experience so that you could enjoy yourself. And I feel that that's really important when it comes to a lot of different things in Star Trek. But I have to give them credit for the graphics. It was fun to see all the graphics in this game, and you kind of had to click on things and figure it out. But it really looks so perfect. I was so impressed with it. Now, Julian, you said you were kind enough to even spend a second watching me play this game. You were kind enough to even do that. What did you think about the look of the game?
Oh, I liked the way it looked. I was enjoying watching it. The graphics, the layout, the way the choices and things pop up to help you kind of figure out what you want to try and do in the situation, and how it's kind of like one of those storybooks where it's like you choose the next action type thing. And so I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, it was one of those things where a couple of times when I was at work and I was I'm lucky enough to have the work I'm doing, I can sit and watch stuff or listen to music videos on YouTube, or watch a video, listen to guys talk and stuff. And I happened to see that you were playing. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I was so I kind of, it's like following along on the side while I was doing my work. And so, yeah, I thought it was cool. If I thought it was something that I certainly, if I wanted to pick it up and play it, I could find myself spending a lot of time just kind of like immersing in that game environment.
Absolutely. And there's, of course, Ambassador Spock makes an appearance in the game, which is amazing to see that. Whoever did the voice acting for Ambassador Spock did a great job. And you really had to kind of like think about what he wanted, what would please him. Another element in the game is that when you make the decision, sometimes the characters are either happy, which they have like a green symbol around them. They're sad and they have red, and then it's neutral. It would come out like a gray kind of view, but you had to figure out how you're going to greet different people and what the decision-making process is. He's there to negotiate some kind of agreement between two different alien groups, of course. As the ambassador, that's what he would be doing. And you also play as the first, the number one officer, but you also play as this engineer who finds himself having to solve a lot of problems, which was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun when he would have to, make these decisions about, well, what do we do with engineering? Well, let's go ahead and look at the frequencies, and people were constantly giving me advice about, well, this is what you should be looking for. And I would say, yes, okay. I hope we do. I thought it was nice to be in engineering and make those engineering decisions. And it is a lot of fun to make those choices. There was even some other dilemmas. There's a few ethical dilemmas in the game. I wanted to show, I actually just wanted to show the alien species, which I have to stop sharing and get to it to show you. But there's these two alien species, Julian, and they look amazing. I was so pleased with how they made them look. They look incredible. And they spent a lot of time trying to get you to see these two species. I think they looked, and I did kind of find it here. They did such a good job in making the alien species look good. These creatures could have looked like anything, but I think they really outdid themselves with this. So let me just see if I can share it and show it. I kept boasting about how great the aliens looked. was like kind of cracking myself up saying, wow, this looks so incredible. Um, just, you know, to be honest with you, I felt like they took a lot of care to make them look interesting and engaging and everything like that. So you end up on this ship and, you know, you're kind of negotiating between these two groups, and they look really good. They look really, I can't remember the names of the aliens, so I apologize. But yeah, it was great to see something like this. You know, it's a mining dispute, and it turns out it's a little bit more than a mining dispute, of course. But look at how cool these, look at them.
Mm-hmm.
They look awesome. You know, they really did a great job with this. And these two aliens have been dependent upon each other for a while for different things, and they had this clash. It was just amazing to see it. You get to meet the queen of that group, one of the groups, and it was just so much fun to see that. You're asked to go ahead and be part of a negotiating team. You know, God bless him for asking me to do that. And it really was exactly the type of thing you would expect to be doing as a first officer. So there was a lot of that type of involvement. Then you found yourself in a situation where some of the crew felt that, you know, the captain was too harsh at times, and he wasn't necessarily the type of captain who would, you know, have it in his mind to say, okay, I'll take into consideration what you've said. He's sort of like, you have to do what I say, or else. I'm thinking to myself, well, everybody has to do that. It's the captain. You have to do that when you are on a starship. There's no way around that. Now, the other thing I was going to say is, and I'm kind of looking forward here. This is where everybody's going to, and here are some of the other crew members. There's one character that has a relationship with another, and then where they're in the room together. When I say they're in the ready room. Everybody's sitting down, and then they have discussion. This really felt good, seeing this part where everybody's there and the captain is sort of briefing everyone. That's the type of stuff that we like to see. Michael Preston, this is not Star Trek Online. This is Star Trek Resurgence. So let me just go ahead and put that here so that people know. Oh my goodness gracious. Star Trek Resurgence, guys. We're talking about Star Trek Resurgence. And there was such a good response to this game that I think I might start to play Star Trek Resurgence. Star Trek Online, because so many people seem to like it. Julian, what do you think?
It's certainly popular. I mean, I continue to see, you know, more and more stuff with the Star Trek Online. I haven't delved into any of it, but yes, it's certainly very popular.
Yeah, and a number of people while I was playing the game mentioned that they are on Star Trek Online. And yes, this is a story mode version of it. It really is not Star Trek Online. I'm going to do, some of you are saying you got to get this game. If you enjoy that immersive experience and you just want to experience what it's like again, this is the game for you. It's a 10-hour game, according to Tom Jr. Jackson, who said, that's how I know, because he was kind enough to look up the information. You have to solve clues. So it's going to be about 10 hours of gameplay. However, it is going to be such a fun 10 hours, everybody. I highly recommend the game for anyone. I think anybody could play this game. So it's not limited to really age. Honestly, anybody over the age of maybe 15 could handle this. I also think that if you want to have something that's visually stimulating and you enjoy that next generation look, this would be the game for you. You can enjoy that a lot. There's also some very interesting things that have to do with, let's say, the science team with the doctor, and you discover certain things that are important too. So they really go throughout the whole gamut, and then you discover some other things. There's really a lot of fun. So I really do give it like a score of about a 7, only because it's not as challenging as it could be. I have a feeling that Star Trek Online may be a more challenging game if you guys want to have more of a challenge. But this is Telltale Games. Telltale Games is like what you said, Julian. You essentially make choices. It's like choose your own adventure, although it's not going to be too different from the game itself. It's not going to be too different. Just a few of the choices that you make.
Yeah.
Change a little bit of the outcome. But overall, you're going to end up, it's going to be the end pretty much the same thing. So this is not another chapter of Star Trek Online. However, guys, I am going to start to play Star Trek Online after doing this. I enjoyed this so much, Julian. Now, Julian, are you playing Star Trek Online?
No, you know,
Okay.
I haven't played any of the games. The last time I did any Star Trek gaming, it was Starfleet Battles, and that was back when I was in college.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
You know, I just was curious.
So I'm curious about this. Is it set up just as a single person, so one person plays through the adventure, or would it be possible? Because you mentioned several characters that could be played. It's like, is it set up so like somebody else could come in and play that other character at the same time that you're doing the other, you know, like the one character, like?
No,
Uh-huh.
it's single player, and you have to play both characters. I think it fluctuates between playing as you know, number one as the first
Mm-hmm.
officer, or as the person in engineering, this
Uh-huh.
other person in engineering, which I think he's here.
Yeah,
Do
I
you have
saw him. Yeah.
yeah, here you get to fly one of the shuttles, and the graphics alone are just so beautiful. I just enjoyed every minute watching how visual this game was. I almost wish it was a longer game. I think there's more than one gameplay. You can hear my mother asking me for candy, so I warn you, because she's like, I need candy, I need it now, and I'm like, no, Mom, no one wants to hear about the candy. I'm playing Star Trek, and she says, well, after you play, can I get the candy? I'm like, you've had some. And so, you know, you may hear my mom in my gaming, and many of you are already very familiar with this. So, however, what I was going to say is I'm going to start to play Star Trek Online in July, which is in a few weeks. You know, we just got into June, but I already started to play a different game on my channel. Look at how cool that looks, Julian.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, I'm finding myself thinking, you know, I think some people, but if somebody wanted to do storylines and make their own Star Trek, you know, stories, this style of animation, you know, would be well, you know, suited to something like that, where you could throw together these, you know, movies that, you know, somebody came up with a story that they wanted to do, and then use the same type of graphics and things like that. I think that would be kind of cool. I don't know. I'm sure there's people out there who can do that, but well beyond me.
You know, I wondered if Star Trek Online is a lot like this. And what I'm going to do is, oh, thank you so much, Tom Jr. Jackson. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play some Star Trek Online, because I have it on my system before I officially start to do the game, just like some testing and see what it's like. There was a bunch of people who watched this stream and told me that they play Star Trek Online, and that I should play it. So that was great. That was great.
My understanding is that it's a lot more involved in you know, like being involved with other characters, other players that are, you know, playing characters, and so it's a lot more interactive that way, where you get to kit out stuff that you use, that you have, that that kind of thing. So
no, that sounds amazing, and I'm kind of looking forward to that. I would like to see something like that. I just want to show one more of these streams, and then we'll move on. But I wanted you all to see just some of the other technology that you get to kind of see in this one. And it's you end up on this. I don't know if I can see the whole thing, but it's a lot of fun. You do find this ancient technology. It's not a spoiler, because, you know, I think you all know what kind of happens in a lot of these Star Trek stories. Some people are saying that there's a Star Wars Heir to the Empire with these types of graphics by Dark Angelus. And no, it's okay, Michael Ferdinand. This is why we're here. We're sharing and just talking about the different look of this game, Star Trek Resurgence. So, you know, I've been talking about it for so long and wanting to see what it was like. And there I am with a tricorder, you know, like, I'm not the best tricorder person.
I caught one of the sections when you were doing this, and it kept on telling you to scan the certain area, and you were like opening it up, and you weren't getting any. You couldn't figure. It kept on telling you, scan, use the tricorder, and you're like, I'm scanning it, I'm not finding anything.
It was fun. It was fun to do that. You're right, Julian. It was fun. This might be the point that you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was fun because it was patient, and I didn't necessarily get penalized for taking my time, scanning things and trying to locate stuff. And there I'm kind of walking around the same area where I'm supposed to find it. There a lot of cool graphics. It looked new and interesting, and you discover different things. But you're right. I did scan a lot. I had to scan a lot. I had to keep going over it and figure out, what's going on in this game and why is it not doing that. But that's okay. I understood what it picks up. And I don't know if the real tricorders work this way. I have no idea what it was, but it was so much fun to even get a chance to pull out a tricorder and do this.
Yeah.
That was just enjoyable, just with even the slightest notion that I would get a tricorder once they ever start to make these things one of these days. I know how to use them now. So, and
well,
yes.
Speaking of tricorders, just recently, the Wand Company sent out an email. They're the ones who made the really high end, the Phaser 2. That's a TV remote, and the communicator, the TOS communicator that is Bluetooth enabled to hook up to your cell phone, which I have, which I love, just because it's so well made as a prop itself. They've been working on the tricorder from TOS for years now, and they had some stoppage because of parts and things like that they were like, oh, it's going to take a little bit more work. But they just sent out something saying that they're finally back on track to getting some sort of a production line up so that they can start making their beta pieces to try those. So I'm getting excited about that because I've been wanting to order that. The Wand Company's tricorder, they've put an awful lot of work into the TOS tricorder. They've made measurements to the smallest, the nth detail off of the original props and the high-end remake masters, like master replicas and some of the stuff that Greg Jean had. So it's kind of exciting.
It is exciting. This is tricorder news here, obviously. And I'm glad you mentioned that. I think a lot of people would be interested in finding that out here. Here I go again. I discovered something.
Yeah.
Moment. I was so happy when I found this. I was like, oh my gosh, I found something. This is a miracle. But that's what the game is about, is just making these discoveries, finding these different things. And, that was the fun part. Playing as this character. She was a great character. It was a lot of fun, Julian. And I do have to say that as far as I'm concerned, it's a worthwhile game. Like I said, it's a fun 10, 11 hours to enjoy. Just immerse yourself in TNG. We just had such an immersion of it. It feels like with Picard season 3, kind of having that bit of closure there, if you will, or let's say going into another chapter of it all. I think that with this game, anybody who wants to have that fun TNG feeling, this is the game for you guys. So I'm gonna stop playing that, and guys, you can also watch my gameplay, which I think won't be very different from your gameplay. Here, I have quite a few episodes on the Burnettwork where you can watch the rest on my channel, Positive Fandom. So a lot of people are talking about tricorders there as well. The other thing I was going to mention to you, Julian, is, and I do want to put up a banner so people know what we're talking about. What I'll do is I'll change out the banner, and that way people will know what we're talking about. I was going to say, you and I definitely am going to be talking about Strange New Worlds, right, Julian?
Yeah, they are really pushing the press on that. Next week, the 15th, we get season 2. The first episode of season 2 will be debuting, and they've really been making the rounds, getting the press out, trying to get people interested in or just excited and hyped about what's going to be happening when that comes out. So.
Yes, and the first thing that I wanted to say, which probably everybody already knows, but maybe they don't, is about Strange New Worlds season 1. It's not necessarily the most interesting thing, but I did want to mention it. That excuse me, Strange New. Why I keep getting pop-up ads. I did want to mention that Strange New Worlds is season 1 is available on YouTube. So I don't know how many people have watched the first season. You and I obviously have watched the first season. As I said, I call it the Love Boat in Space. Just honestly, I'm totally fine with that. I don't mind that it is the Love Boat in Space. I think that for me, that's what it meant for me. I liked the look of a lot of it. So it says, watch all of Star Trek Strange New World season 1 available for free on YouTube in the USA, or I imagine if you could log in as if you were in the US, you could do that. So for those of you who haven't seen it and you, maybe you're not going to get Paramount, which I think is where Star Trek would be on, and you just want to see what it's like, go ahead and check it out on YouTube, available for free. I'm sure they did that right before the second season started so that more people could kind of see what Strange New Worlds is like, right, Julian?
Yeah. I think they're trying to push that to get people to come watch it. Not sure when the last season of Discovery is going to end up popping up. So this is the show. This is the flagship for now, going forward for them, and they definitely want to get people watching it. So.
Yeah, and who could have guessed that the writer's strike would be happening right now? Of course, that's affecting a lot of things. Is it affecting the last season of Discovery, or is that already completed? Do you know?
I think it was already completed. I think they even finished filming it. They're probably just having to do post effect work and all that kind of stuff. So,
Okay.
I think I really haven't been paying that much attention to Discovery, so I don't know. Maybe one of these days I'll go back in and watch the seasons I didn't watch. But
What we need is a list of episodes that I'm not going to say essential, but just even episodes that maybe could help you watch it. But I don't really know. I mean, I'm not quite sure how much of the Discovery plot is going to go forward. I really am very unsure about what effect it's going to have over the other series, to be honest with you, Julian. So, I'm sure we'll have another discussion about Discovery when the time comes when it's the final season. I have a feeling you and I will have a lot to say about Discovery.
Speaking of this Ready Room sneak peek, I actually watched that today, right after it premiered, and it was pretty much the same stuff. The primary 3 actors, touting how exciting the season was going to be, and Rebecca Romijn has her. Every interview I've seen regarding her is talking about big swings that the writers are taking with the show, regarding how they're playing with the genre of Trek and going to be telling these different stories within the framework of how they can do different storytelling in Trek. So I don't know. Of course, we know we're going to be dealing with her trial. They've been showing some of that stuff, the hearing for her because of her genetic background, and they took her away, saying you're not supposed to be in Starfleet, and so they'll have to be dealing with that. We've got the crossover with the characters from Lower Decks, which I'm looking forward to. But mostly, a lot of those articles that they've been putting out it's all speculation. People just trying to guess. Oh, what do we think we're going to see based on the trailers? And it just sometimes the speculation gets it's just hype for the sake of hype. I just want to sit back and watch it and see what comes to us. Now, one thing that was very interesting, though, was that there was a convention in London where it was the MCM Comic Con in London. There was a panel where we had 4 members from Strange New Worlds who beamed into the panel as holograms on the stage. They were actually, 2 of them were in LA and 2 were in New York. So Rebecca Romaine and Etha Peck were in New York, I think, and Celia Rose Gooding and Melissa Navia were in LA. And the technology they used made it look like they were holograms up on the stage. And they interacted with each other and with the crowd. And so the fact that they weren't actually there, but it looked like they were there on stage, I think that's pretty cool. They really made it look like they were beaming into the spot, and then they were able to interact with the crowd, even though they were halfway around the world. It's just pretty impressive.
That is impressive. And it must have been incredible to see it. It must have been incredible to be at that con and to experience that. Wow, that sounds unbelievable.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah. There's so the video shows kind of how they did it, a little bit of behind the scenes. And the way they set it up was they had screens where the actors were actually being filmed, and they had screens where they could see who they were talking to, and they had the screen set up so that when they looked there, it looked like they were looking at the other 2 who were on the stage. It was pretty cool.
It sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Wow, what a surprise. It's cool that they went to an extra, like that kind of effort so that fans could see everybody and it looks like what we know.
Yeah. I really am excited. I mean, that type of fan interaction on top of all the stuff that that company is doing with the Roddenberry estate and the the museum, the Starfleet History Museum type stuff. It's just bringing all this high tech and expanding what technology can do to bring more depth to the world that Roddenberry created. It's just it's exciting.
It is. It is. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I was trying to look to see if I could find that, but I don't know where it is. But that must have been such a cool thing to see. If I could find it somewhere, maybe YouTube has it, but I'll look for it another time. But yeah, that is cool. Yeah, I would have loved to have seen that. Did you have a link for it, Julian?
It's on the Trek News page that you sent me. You just have to scroll back down a little bit to like last week's stuff.
All right, let me see
it's
if I can
in there.
find it that way and pull it up this way. So I forgot about that, Julian. But it's good to know. Let me just pop open. I couldn't get back to that page because I didn't have the link anymore. It doesn't stay live or active. All right, so let me see if I can find it.
Well, what I noticed was, because I saw that, and it updates as more articles come in.
Yeah.
But if you scroll down, it keeps the older articles just lower down on the stream. So.
Okay, so let's see. All right. Let's see. All right. I didn't see it on the list.
Huh. Oh, well, maybe perhaps later after the stream I can help you find it. But
all right, because I'm looking at it and I see Academy. Let's see.
there's that. Let's go back to the page.
All right.
Script Buzz.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's down the stream, and it's placed between. There's one on comics about lore reflecting on his past, and then the other one is the podcast, the All Access Star Trek preview.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see the All Access Star Trek Strange New World Season 2 with cast and interview clips. Is that the one?
Yeah, it's right above that.
Okay. I
At
see
least,
Strange New World cast big swings. Oh yeah, here it is.
yeah. Yeah, that's there's if you go to that link, it has a video in the article
Okay.
about how they did the hologram type thing.
So let's look at it. Oh yeah, I see. I did see this. This is what I sent you. Yeah, I guess I do see it, Julian.
Yeah. There's just so much material. So much content.
I didn't have it loaded. So this looks amazing. This looks amazing. So this is what it looked like.
Yeah.
That looks amazing. It does look like they're right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must have been cool. That must have been so cool to see. Wow. Yeah, it looks unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
That must have surprised a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would have liked to have seen that. I would have liked to have, and this is what you were saying, the big swings. Okay.
Well, yeah, just about everything that I've been seeing, every time it's talking about, oh, we talked to, cast members about what we can expect, for the next season, and they're always saying, big swings, big swings. it must be, I don't know who came up with that one, but it seems to be the talking point.
I don't know. I mean, could it be any bigger than what they've already done?
Well, for one thing, certainly the crossover with the animated show is huge. I mean, it's the first time that's been done.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really, really interesting for just Trek in general, the way that they're doing something like that. And I think that's kind of cool. I know that there's lots of people out there who talk about things like, oh, the original animated series from the 70s is like, wouldn't it be cool if they were to take those shows, use the existing audio files, but redo the animation using new CGI? And how would that look? And I'm like, wow, somebody needs to do that. That would be really cool.
Somebody does need to do that. And, I think it would be really cool. I think it could just be redone and enhanced a little bit, and it would look amazing. We all want to see it. So could somebody out there please do this? Someone please do it so we can see what it looks like. That's all we're asking for. We want to see. That's something I wouldn't mind seeing, a newer version of, a remake of.
Yeah, because Enterprise Incidents, the podcast with Scott Mantz and Steve, I can't remember his last name. They've done the whole first the 3 seasons of TOS, they did deep dives of every single episode of TOS, and they've gone straight into the animated series and are treating the animated series every episode as an aspect of another season of Trek. And considering that they had most of the original actors and doing their voices, playing their parts, and writers who wrote for the original first 3 seasons doing stories, at the time they considered it a canon extension of Trek. Dorothy Fontana was very adamant that it was canon, that the animated shows were canon, and so is David Gerrold. DC's not here anymore to talk about that stuff, but David Gerrold maintains that that stuff is canon, and they wrote it as canon. And there's some good stories in there. There's good Star Trek stories, even if they're just like 22 minutes long. It's amazing what you could do if you know what you're doing to write a story. So
yeah, I agree. I mean, I've watched the original series, animated series, a bazillion times. So I would love to see it remade.
yeah,
It would be perfect. And I thought someone was doing something like that or redoing something. We talked about something similar, but it is about time that we saw a remake of that. It's time. And can somebody do it, or would they not be permitted to do that?
it would have to be a total fan thing of somebody spending their time, creating the models and in CG and putting that stuff all together and then syncing it. And perhaps somebody is just for the heck of it because they want to, but I haven't seen anything about it. You're right though about playing around with that. We saw, I think on YouTube you can find somebody has done some next generation stuff in the style of the 70s animated series.
Yeah,
with the sound effects and everything. Yeah.
We were talking about that, and it looks amazing. I think they did a great job with that, and it's fun to watch that as well.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping someone will come through it for us. Please, somebody, go right ahead and do that thing for us so that we can enjoy even more Star Trek. There are more comics coming out, from what I understand. Are you a fan of the comics for Star Trek, Julian?
I never read any of the Star Trek comics, either when they were DC or Marvel. I don't know who's doing them now, or Image now. I don't know who's doing them all. I never got into them, even when I was in my comic collecting phase years ago. I didn't collect any. I do have somewhere, I think, still one or two of the really old gold key Star Trek comics from like the early 70s, I think it was.
Wow.
Yeah, the art is just atrocious. Oh, it's so funny. But I ended up with some of them somehow. I think probably because my immediate family knew I was so taken with Trek. My dad and I used to watch it together all the time. Even my Uncle Tim sometimes. So that's probably how I ended up with those comics.
Well, I do see there are a few comic choices that they've made, and one of them says IDW. I'm not.
That's it. IDW, not Image. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not at all familiar with it myself, but I don't know whether the art is. I'm not even quite sure what the art should look like for any kind of comic. Is this one of them on the list? I think it is one of them that I put on the list, but I'm not even quite sure what the art should look like for a Star Trek comic. I mean, here it says, see Scotty and the Thesis crew take a break in preview of IDW Star Trek Annual 2023. And it says, and this is actually maybe a week ago, this week's IDW flagship Star Trek series, recently nominated for an Eisner Award, takes a break before the summer's big Day of Blood storyline starts with the special annual issue that promises to be an epic franchise crossover, an exciting romp through the history of Star Trek. Written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly, with art by Rachel Scott. And they have covers and a 6-page preview here, which is very interesting to kind of look at. That cover looks pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, I see a lot of, I can understand what they're saying. I mean, that looks like a lot of different crews there. You know, obviously that's, this looks like Discovery. And that's Michelle Yeoh, I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it looks like they're doing some sort of a crossover-y type thing.
Benjamin Sisko, Kirk,
Picard,
and
Pike,
and Janeway. I don't know who that is.
That you know, I wouldn't be surprised if that was Kelvin Pike.
Okay. And I think the cover looks very suspenseful. I'm like, what's going on here? Janeway and Captain Picard and Sisko are all like, what's going on here? But you know, Kirk seems to be fine. The expression, but I think it looks good. You know, looking just even at the cover, that looks fantastic. That's nice looking art for Star Trek.
Yeah.
And then if we look for on the rest of the page, it says that it has a little bit more on here. Oh, that looks great.
Yeah. Little CGI.
Yeah. And it looks like that looks like a holodeck, you know, crosshairs or in the background. There's Benjamin Sisko. Yeah, you're right. That's who that is. You're correct for sure. That looks a little bit more like the character to me. These all look good. This looks cool. That looks cool, Julian. Look at that.
Yeah.
Uniform.
Yeah, that's one I've never seen before.
I've never seen it either. But Benjamin's wearing it. That looks like Data, but I'm not sure. Beverly, I don't know who that is, and I don't know who this is, but that looks awesome.
Yeah.
And I think there's one more. Okay, that was probably it. And then they have the different previews, so you can see what the artwork looks like. It's not bad artwork. I think the cover is the one that sells it, but yeah, I've never seen these uniforms before either. We're seeing different uniforms now, maybe this year or the past 2 years more than ever, but this looks awesome too. That looks like those Balenciaga uniforms a little bit.
Yeah.
When you think about it, looking at this. And yes, thank you. Everybody's like, yes, it is. Tom Jr. Jackson happens to have a few of the comics and is saying it looks interesting as well. So that's one to look forward to. It's not the only comic coming up either. There's a number of different choices. It looks pretty cool. I think I would pick it up. These covers alone, Julian, are just really a lot of fun to even look at. Countdown to the Day of Blood. Yeah, that one really grabs my attention because they've got those hash lines all over the place. That makes me wonder. Oh, and I didn't even notice, if I pan down a little bit more, there's Worf. And, and Quark, and I can't see in the corner, but I think that's Spock right there. Could him. So that's very interesting.
I think would that be Archer?
Yes, that is Archer right here. Yes.
Yeah.
That's definitely Archer. And that guy is O'Brien, I think. I can't distinguish the other ones. I had to pan down a little bit more to see there was even more detail at the bottom. They're running away from something. It looks like they're running away from something. But yeah, that's interesting. I think, you know, sometimes you look at these covers, I think the cover can really kind of spur some interest in what this particular comic's going to be about. We know it's going to be different from most of the story, but that looks pretty cool. Maybe it is an alternate universe. Who knows? It says, you know, they gave us the first 6 pages so we would know. Day of Blood storyline. We can find out, guys. You can find out more about it here as well. So that was one of the comic books that was coming up. it certainly is interesting to see the options. There's one more, I think, where they were talking about another book too. But what else was on your mind, Julian, that you wanted to mention about Star Trek before we start talking about the book Harbinger?
I don't have anything else actually that was really nitpicking at me to talk about based on the articles and stuff we were looking at. It's just it's cool to see so much stuff available, so much content available out there to do. Yeah, even comics. When I was a lot younger, single, and had more disposable income, I was collecting a lot of comics, but I don't even have space for it now. So most of my comics are in long boxes up in storage. So.
Well, a lot of us have stuff stored that way nowadays. Nightwing, hello, the Nightwing says that those uniforms, those look like Odysee uniforms from Trek Online. Well, that's interesting, Nightwing. Thank you for letting us know. And Nightwing, you play Star Trek Online. Can you please tell me what your call sign is on the game? You sent it to me before. Can you please just send it again if you're still on here? Let me know what it is, because I'm going to start to play it. And I know you were one of the persons who was saying that I should do that, but thank you for letting me know. See, Julian, it's going to be so good. I can't wait to see. I don't even know which game to start with. I mean, it's on my PlayStation, but I'm not quite sure if I just click on that and then I just go from there. So that hopefully that will be happening soon. Thank you, Nightwing. And I'm making a note of it this time. I'm actually writing it down. I have it now. Thank you, Nightwing, so much. Okay, got it. So, Julian, we have been looking at this book, Harbinger. And we initially did the first, I guess, chapters 1 through 5 up to a certain page on 5. And then I have up 6 through 12, but I haven't even gotten past chapter 6, really. So we hadn't finished 5. And, there's actually a lot to discuss, even between chapters 5 and 6. Like, it's a lot that's going on. I know that for 5, let me just get to that part so I can remember what is in here. Because I did not get up to, I'm going to be honest, I have not gotten up to chapter 12 yet. I haven't. However, Julian and I are actively reading the book. And so I figured we absolutely should talk a little bit more about it, because chapters 5 and 6 actually are very meaty chapters in the book. And the last time we ended off, I think it was up to page 45 or something like that. Julian, am I correct?
Okay. Yeah, I can't remember exactly. I don't have the book with me right now. It's out in the living room. But we as a catch up, we know that we are dealing with Vanguard Station. I think it's Starbase 47, which is out in the Taurus Reach, which is located kind of right a triangular intersection with the Tholian Assembly and the Klingon Empire and the Federation. And there's a planet, Ragnar 4, which there was a group of Starfleet people on there, and they were mining something, and a rogue named Quinn disabled their sensor screen but escaped from them, and so they have called Vanguard, saying they need a new sensor screen right away. So it brings us into like chapter 5, and we kind of get our first-hand look at Vanguard and a lot of the people of Vanguard. We meet, it is under the command of Commodore Diego Reyes, and he is heading to a meeting with his XO, Commander John Cooper. We have Lieutenant Judy Dunbar, who's the ops manager. And, I was writing all this stuff down because I didn't know if they were going to be important or not. But they haven't come up, really. We have a JAG officer, Captain Rana Desai. So we meet them in the middle of an ops meeting that Diego Reyes shows up late to, and they are discussing the situation where they need to have things, they're still teething problems with the station becoming operational so quickly, which is kind of a bit of the mystery in this, especially with the crew of the Enterprise. We also meet Tim Pennington, who is an interviewer, a stringer for the Federation News Service, and he's having a meeting with the Federation ambassador Jatanian, who is a Rigelian Shalon, who kind of is turtle-like. If anybody has you can look it up online, but they make an appearance in Star Trek the Motion Picture. This is very interesting. I have the soundtrack from an LP record, the soundtrack from Star Trek the Motion Picture, and one of the pieces that comes with that is this nice glossy page that has all these photos of these different members of the Federation. And the Rigelian Shalons are one of those characters that they did. All these characters they made up, and you don't even really meet, and you don't see them in the movie, but they spent all this money to make these characters up that you might see in passing. It's very interesting, but I thought that was cool that the author uses one of these aliens, these turtle-looking aliens, as the ambassador Jatanian, and of course Pennington's trying to get information from him. He's trying to figure out why Starbase 47 is out there. Why is Vanguard so far out on the reaches of the Federation? And he keeps on getting the same old stock answers from the ambassador that he could get from the Federation itself, which is, we're here to help colonization efforts. So that's all we get. We also meet the CMO of the station, Ezekiel Fisher, and he has a young attending physician with him who happens to be Dr. Mbenga. Habilo Mbenga, they name. I don't know if they've given us a first name for Dr. Mbenga in Strange New Worlds. So I don't know if they will use that same name or not. Or if, so as far as I know, that's still canon. I could be wrong. I tried to look it up in the cast, for Strange New Worlds, and he's just listed as Dr. Mbenga. So yes, there's a young Dr. Mbenga there as attending physician. And then the Bombay, which we saw earlier, a Miranda-class starship, which is ferrying one of the officers who was doing part of the study on Ravenar, is arriving at Vanguard. And then later on, we deal with more of the ambassadorial stuff. We have a senior attaché, Ariana Sandeyo, and she explains to Ambassador Jatanian about the Tholians having some sort of episode of pain, and this is related to whatever that incident was, the psionic episode earlier on in Chapter 4. So this happened to all of the Tholians all over the place, apparently. They didn't explain, or when they tried to explain, she said that the translators just didn't know how to parse out what it was that they were saying. So they've been kind of incommunicado since then. What's very interesting is that we also find out that the attaché, Anna San Diego, is also a Klingon agent.
Yes. I like how they did that part, because they were like,
yes.
I mean, they literally told you that it's life as an agent, as a double agent or something.
Yeah, and the crux of this was that they need, that they need to change the envoy to the Klingon ambassador or ambassadorial party, because the Federation envoy managed to anger the Klingon envoy, who took his duck dang and stuck it into his leg. And so they choose another envoy to
Akela Karume.
Yeah, Karome, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Who will be the new? It was her or the Vulcan, I think it was a Vulcan envoy, and they went with her instead. And of course, Sandeo gives this information to her handler, who appears to be like one of the security guys in the Klingon delegation. So that's most of what we got in Chapter 5. As we get into Chapter 6, we find out that the reporter Pennington is having an affair with Oriana D'Amato.
Yes.
Which, if anybody knows that name, they'll remember it from Robert D'Amato, who is the chief geologist on board the Enterprise, who will meet his fate in season 3. So yeah, she's married to him, but she's having this hot, torrid affair with Tim Pennington. But then the Enterprise arrives at Vanguard, and that sends her into a tither. She's like, I've got to get out of here because he's going to be expecting to see me.
I better get dressed quick.
Yes.
Uniform.
Yes. And Oriana is a bridge officer on the Bombay, the Miranda-class starship that just showed up. So, she and Pennington got together as soon as she was off the ship. They hadn't spoke a word for 2 hours. They've been busy getting with it. And so she's got to make sure that she gets herself prettied up so she can go meet Robert when he comes off of the Enterprise. And on the Enterprise, as they are coming in, Kirk, Spock, and Scotty are discussing how much work it would take to get Vanguard Station up and running so quickly, and Kirk wants to know what is going on because he's just curious as all get out. It's like, I need to know. Commander Reyes meets the captain of the Bombay when it comes in, Captain Gannon, and orders her to finish repairs and resupply within the next 16 hours to get a replacement sensor screen out to Ravnar 4 ASAP. And then Kirk has a meeting with Reyes, trying to get some answers, and they do not hit it off. They get that off on the wrong foot real quickly. And because, Kirk is a young buck, he is, at this point in time, the youngest captain to ever be in Starfleet. And the fact that he is captain of a Constitution-class ship, no less, one of the flagship of the Federation, at his young age, has ruffled some feathers amongst his peers. So that's that's a lot of what was going on through 5 and 6. Since you haven't read any further, we can hold off on that.
Yeah, I enjoyed these 2 chapters. Things are really starting to get moving now, and it did feel like the first 4 were really just the introduction to the characters, and of course the incident that happened in chapter 4 was incredibly important because of what it's foretelling us to be on the lookout for about this phenomenon. We still don't know why, more or less, why that happened, but someone is tracking it. And when she mentioned it, I got the impression, or at least I thought I read somewhere where they'd said that she didn't have any evidence. And I could be mistaken on that, but I wasn't quite sure why she was being questioned. Anna, I think, was the character. Why anything that she would say would come up for question, and I hope I'm saying the right part of it, but I don't know why they were doubting her. But it seems like even if you did have evidence for any of this stuff, or doubting anything at this point with that crew, I don't know whether there's anybody who would be listening. I think that they have already been told that this is the reason why this is happening, and let's not deviate from this. We don't want to make any waves. Even though there's the question of why was this space station built so fast. But
well, I think if I remember correctly, also that the ambassador was trying to ascertain a better idea of what may have happened. Why he wasn't there with them, it's kind of strange. He's the ambassador, but he sends all these envoys off to meet with the other groups, right? So he's an ambassador who hasn't actually done any ambassadoring so far in the book from what we've seen. But he's delegating an awful lot of stuff, but he's trying to ascertain what from her impression of what happened, and I think he's just trying to figure out, was it a problem of translation? Was it something that we did? What happened? Because they can't tell. They all they know is something happened to the Tholians that gave them a lot of distress. They don't know what caused it, and they're trying to figure out, was it us or is it something else? And and it even gets into, I think in that section there's one of his delegates who's writing a communique that is going to be sent to the Klingons, and there's some grammar in there that would have really pissed off the Klingon ambassador had they sent it, and if he hadn't caught it, he's like, I don't think you want to send that way. You better figure out a better way to say that, because this is what you're saying.
It seems like a rookie mistake, though, doesn't it? I mean, the translation part seems like a rookie mistake.
I think he goes into detail about an anecdote that happened on some other planet where there was a civil war, and it was a matter of a mistake in punctuation or something like that, which ended up resulting in millions of deaths before they corrected. And it wasn't them who did it, but it was, this is what can happen. And trying to get two different cultures to see each other and understand each other is difficult. Even here, I mean, just here on Earth, between human beings, trying to get us to understand each other can be really hard. And so one can imagine how difficult it is between different species, different planetary systems. How difficult that would be to make sure that you're not pissing off the person you're talking, you're not doing it intentionally, and that you're not doing it unintentionally. So I think that's kind of cool to see that yes, it may have been a rookie mistake, but I think that's the point, that some of these people out there are rookies, and they're learning. That's part of the job. And so you have to start somewhere to learn some of these things. One of the things that fascinates me is we're dealing with TOS era story that is being written at a time in real world when these were written. Deep Space Nine, all the other Next Generation stuff, the movies, all those things had come out. So the Klingons, by that point, have been established, especially through Deep Space Nine. We know that human-looking Klingons existed at the same time as the other now traditional-looking Klingons with the brow ridges and everything. They existed at the same time. They kind of made that canon in Enterprise and in Deep Space Nine, where we see that, or Worf, when they go back in time and do Trials and Tribulations, it's like, those are Klingons? Those aren't Klingons. And he goes, we don't speak of that, we don't talk about that. So it's very interesting that we're dealing with Klingons, an ambassadorial party. We have somebody who's posing as a human, who's a Klingon spy, and we've seen this before in Trouble with Tribbles, where we had Arn Darvin, who was a Klingon spy in the delegation. And so how do we have other human-looking Klingons and the more extreme-looking Klingons all at the same time? I'm kind of interested in if our is our TOS crew, our TOS period, are they also dealing with Klingons that look like Worf, essentially, right? We know that in Strange New Worlds coming up this season, we're going to see Klingons in an episode, and that Spock at least is going to be interacting with the Klingons. We also see that those Klingons look a lot more like the Klingons from Next Gen Berman era Klingons than they do like the Klingons that were in Discovery in that first 2 seasons. So I'm very interested in how they're going to do that in Strange New Worlds, but I'm kind of interested in, because they really haven't, other than using the Imperial Klingon, they're using that Klingon language in the book when they're talking sometimes, the Klingons, the stuff that Mark Okrand, created for Trek. And that comes along with those Worf-looking Klingons, right? So I find that kind of interesting that, we could have instances where we have both Klingons, being in the same room at the same time. In fact, I think I would get a kick if that's what we saw in Strange New Worlds, if we saw human-looking Klingons as well as the other Klingons, because I think we should see that, especially since if they're doing, they're probably not going to do it, but I think it's it's been established that it's canon that they existed together at the same time, and I think it would be cool, since TOS, that's how the Klingons were looking that we were seeing in TOS. And yes, I know it's because they didn't have the budget to do anything else other than what they did, but at the same time, it's canon that they could look like that. Yeah. It confuses things when they had the 3 actors, John Colicos and William Campbell and Michael Ansara come into Deep Space Nine. They had the new Klingon makeup. So it's like, they're not human anymore. I'm like, how does that work? I'm like, we're just supposed to pretend that they looked like that when they were in TOS, or I don't know. I
mean, it's interesting because in the book, they're not too descriptive.
Yeah, they're not with the Klingons. All that we know is that the one spy in the delegation has to look human because she's undercover. Mm-hmm. But other than that, we don't know what the other Klingons are looking like in the book. So it's a fine line so far that he's treading here. I'm wondering how it's going to go. He might not even make a mention of it, which is kind of interesting. I found myself thinking, I wonder, especially when I saw that stuff for Strange New Worlds, and it showed him with the Klingons, and they were wearing kind of a version of the movie, armor that we see the Klingons in, almost the traditional Klingon armor. And I thought, well, what if I was finding myself wondering what an update to the Klingon uniforms that we saw in TOS, what would the Strange New Worlds update of that outfit look like? Because they've done they've updated the Starfleet uniforms. They did an update to the green wraparound. They did an update to the monster maroon red jacket, which I've loved. They look great, and I'm like, I think I should try and draw a picture of what a updated TOS Klingon would look like. So.
Yeah. So do you draw? Are you an artist, Julian? Do you draw things like that?
I used to, yeah. I don't draw as much as I should. I used to draw an awful lot. Yes. I wouldn't call myself an artist, but I did fantasy and sci-fi and drawings when I was in high school and college, and I did end up going to. I sold black and white, pen and ink drawings of Roman, ancient Roman subject stuff. A convention up in Washington State called NorwestCon. I sold some art there a few years, and I went to the Art Institute of Seattle for computer graphics, but I don't play a lot of games online or anything like that, and so it it wasn't exactly, it didn't get me into the gaming industry because I don't play games that much. So, but it gave me a lot of good knowledge on other areas and Photoshop and stuff like that, which I've used. Had used extensively when I had access to it. So I used to do an awful lot of art, and I find it difficult to get back into it lately. But the background that I did, that was me playing in I had in a rinky-dink art program. But it was fun to do, and I have some pictures I'm working on, but I haven't been able to sit and finish them. So.
That's interesting. Yeah, it would be great to see your interpretations, your what you think it might, what you feel the interpretation should be, or what the characters would look like. I know Next Generation starts, that's Next Generation, Strange New World starts next week, right, Julian?
Yeah. So perhaps, with that'll be I'll put that fire under my butt, and I'll try and get my sketchbook out and throw something together as an idea with that because it goes in hand with what's going to be coming up with Strange New Worlds anyway. So I'll throw something together.
Wow, this is exciting. Thank you for doing that. That is awesome that you would even consider doing something like that. I can't wait to see what you come up with, Julian. The next episode for Strange New Worlds, I think, is on the 15th or something like that. We will not be doing a live watch party for those episodes. But we will be continuing this series on Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Friday. Julian, right? Am I correct?
Yeah. Let's go forward with that. I like doing the live show on Friday evenings. Kind of missed it. I like doing this, and I think we could throw in a quick review of the episode from the day before, if we want to do something like that, or and yeah, I don't know if you wanted to try and do not a premiere live watch, but I know other people have done live watch parties for like a couple of days after it actually premieres, so they do it at a humane time. I don't know if you want to do something like that, or if we just want to watch it, and then take notes on it and discuss it. Like, I don't know if Friday after it airs would be too soon for some people. That might be spoiler, territory for some people. So I guess that's something we can discuss later.
Yeah, we will discuss it. And it's something to think about, especially since it starts next week on Thursday. Yeah, but it's not going to be a 3 a.m. It's not going to be a 3 a.m. show this time. But we will be reviewing Strange New Worlds coming up. So starting next week, we'll be adding that to the list of things that we will be talking about. And Nightwing, I will be doing some Star Trek Online. So do look out for me. I know you gave me the name. I wrote it down this time. So I have it, and thank you for that. Julian, I'm so excited to see what drawing you will come up with. That is so wonderful that you're doing that. Julian, is there anything else you'd like to talk about before we end tonight's stream?
No, I think that covers it all, RM.
Well, it was a lot to talk about. I can't believe it's already time for Strange New Worlds coming up. Yeah, I'm so looking forward to to honestly, I don't know what's going to happen over the next year in regards to what's coming out for shows, especially since we know things have been delayed in some instances. So it's kind of uncertain now, but that's okay. There's plenty of other things in Trek that we've been talking about and we're going to enjoy. So guys, thank you everybody who stopped by tonight. Julian, thank you so much for meeting with me tonight. Julian, where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Julian Mushkin, or you can find me right here on the Burnettwork, where I'm streaming with you.
And guys, of course, you can find me here on the Burnettwork as well as my channel, Positive Fandom. Guys, I will be doing, I think I'm doing musings tonight in about 30 minutes or so. So I should be seeing many of you in a few minutes. Tomorrow I'll start my Star Trek Online streams, so that should be fun. Nightwing, I will look out for you. Julian, I'm going to continue to read the book. So when we meet next week, we will be talking about probably Strange New Worlds. It depends on whether it's too soon. We might not do a spoiler review right away, but it really depends on what we decide to do. I don't know.
Yeah, perhaps just our impressions of, did we like it, that kind of a thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm excited for that as well. A new series, let's say, season of that series coming out. So it should be fun. Everybody, Tom Jr. Jackson, I want to thank you for moderating tonight. My collaborator,
Thanks,
friend.
Tom.
We are all goof people, Tom Jr. Jackson. And guys, live long and prosper, everybody. And remember, no matter where you are in the galaxy, everybody, always remember to please be kind. Take care, everybody.
Cheers.